Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 238. I almost forgot the number just there for a moment. We are here for this week's show covering all of the news since last show. And if you missed that one, by the way, it was a very interesting show with Preach as a guest. These episodes are all on YouTube and you can check them out even later on. This week we have some cool things to talk about before Shadowlands is going to hit. We have compiled a list, thanks to Blizzard, which covers all the things that will be going away with pre-patch and then the things going away with the actual launch of the new expansion, which I know is a very hot topic for a lot of people who are, concluding the expansion by trying to get all the things that will later go away. Before we jump into anything though, let me introduce myself. I am Annie, or also known as Ada Fuchsia, a full-time streamer on Twitch, playing lots and lots of World of Warcraft. My co-host is, as usual, the very lovely Perculia, and today it seems like we have a very nice visit from Brightpaw as well.
I'm Perk. We have Brightpaw in my lap. He is very excited about this show because there are cat models for the first time that we're going to cover in Shadowlands. Also, before we get ahead of ourselves, I run Wowhead, so I oversee all the calculators and news and guides and social media and the general direction of the site for both retail and classic. We have a lot of merchandise to talk about for a change. We've got a lot of cute models as well as a Sylvanas update. And yeah, we even have some Covenant campaign story time updates as well. So, yeah, why don't we get into it with some Sdcc merch and we'll see if Brightpaw sticks around or not.
I think that sounds like a good idea. So Sdcc merch. I believe this is the merch that was meant for a Comic-Con, correct?
Yeah, usually San Diego Comic-Con, Blizzard introduces a lot of limited things and some new lines you can buy
Mm-hmm.
online. Like they've done limited pins before, Funko Pops. I even have some in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
But with everything canceled with the pandemic, they just decided to release some of this new merch online.
Yep.
And while, of course, like Overwatch, is popular and has the bulk of the items, there was some interesting items for WoW players as well at a variety of price points. So
Mm-hmm.
not everything is like a $500 Jaina statue. So
No, is it 4.99 instead?
yeah. So the
Yeah.
first
Mm-hmm.
statue we wanted to share was a Vulgen statue from the Warcraft Legends line, which Brightpaw is very
Oh,
interested in. Or not interested in.
no, he's like, no,
uh,
I don't like this stuff.
and this is a cheaper statue than some of the fancy Jaina ones. It's a bit smaller. It's good for sitting on a desk. And it's going to ship by Friday, October 30th.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe if you are in the US, it is $60.
Yep.
And this is the same style they've done for the Sour Fang statue, and I think the Alliance and Horde figurines from
Oh, the BlizzCon
last
ones.
BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like very bright, very dynamic, very colorful,
Mm-hmm.
pretty durable. Brightpaw has tried to play with my BlizzCon ones and bit them, nudge them. They haven't broken or bent, so they're pretty sturdy. And of course, this begs the question: if Vol'jin is getting his own statue, we're going to see more of him in Shadowlands.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point because as we can see with the next pieces of merch here, the t-shirts that are very much inspired by Shadowlands. So maybe indeed this is a small hint that we will see a lot more of Vulgen in Shadowlands. Let me show you
Yeah,
guys all the t-shirts too. Here we go.
I really like the Bolvar one.
Yeah, that's the one that
Um,
showed for a second there
yeah,
at the first. It does look really, really cool.
I think I like it the best because it's not symmetrical. Um, and it's not, key art of like, oh, here's the expansion logo on a t-shirt and like a little rectangle. It
Mm-hmm.
has, it has some style to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I like that one the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it too. I think I would have even liked it if it was even bigger, like a bigger part of the shirt.
Yeah. Or if it was like more of a like like those all over prints where like maybe starting at
Yeah.
the waist you'd see his
Yeah, yeah,
torso
yeah.
come in with like his head would be
Uh-huh.
around here but
Uh-huh.
his waist would be here. Like it just sort of like more asymmetrical playing
Mm-hmm.
up that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um
they do look good though.
yeah.
The t-shirt that we got, what is that part of any kind of merch line, or was that just a special off thing?
I thought that was a special line
Mm-hmm.
for people that were part of the digital summit. I could
Oh
be wrong
yeah.
though. Maybe
Yeah,
if
I
it's
think it
popular,
was.
go on sale. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I got a thank you note saying it was part of the summit, and I appreciate how with that shirt and all these shirts, the background is black. Like I feel like with BFA, some of the shirts are very like Alliance versus Horde, and it doesn't really match with as much stuff, or it just screams
Oh,
like like gamer shirt. But with this, it's like, oh, you can actually like mix and match this. You can dress it up, or you can wear
yep.
it, and it doesn't look so like cartoonish.
You're actually very right because I remember the I got this double shirt combo thing, a very very bright red Horde one, and then a very very bright blue Alliance one for Anduin, and
Yeah,
they were too bright even for me who just wears like t-shirts kind of casually.
yeah.
I feel like having these dark dark shirts like black shirts, maybe even white shirts to some extent depending on the art piece, looks a lot better and more fitting in like daily use.
Yeah, and like a lot of shirts are unisex. Oh, yeah, this was the thing. I wish they would do these shirts in female,
Yes, me
different sizes as well,
too.
because a lot of these are unisex. And
Mm-hmm.
with me, I find it hard to wear unisex, but if it's black, you can the cut isn't perfect, it's not as
Yeah,
obvious, you can
you're
style it
right.
more. But I
Yeah.
still wish that these shirts would be in different cuts. I know with some of the Overwatch shirts, whenever they announce a new hero, they try to do an interesting cut besides unisex. So it would be cool if they could do some of that with WoW too.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I do miss the female cut shirts for these models.
Yeah.
I remember the hoodie that I think was from the BlizzCon, maybe not this previous one, but 2 years ago or something, where they had a hoodie that they gave us, and one of them
Hmm.
was female cut and one of them was male cut, and I thought that was really cool because especially hoodies,
Yeah.
it's very rare that you get a female cut hoodie. It's usually just like this is a hoodie and that's what everyone wears. So that was really cool that there was a slightly different model for the female one.
So yeah, just some feedback. Uh more different cuts for different body sizes
Mm-hmm.
with these shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Indeed. Oh, this
we
one looks
also
cool.
had yeah, some fine art
Mm-hmm.
and cats.
Yep.
Uh there is a new round of prints framed and unframed. This one is the Midsummer Fire Festival that has a little Ragnaros and Cinder Kitten. They didn't. This is interesting because I don't remember this artwork being used for the actual Fire Festival promotion this year, but it fits really well. Like it's a really
Yeah.
fun, playful
Mm-hmm.
piece of art, very colorful.
Mm-hmm.
There's ones for other games as well. The one that stands out more is that there's a Diablo 4 print, and it's framed, and it comes with a special glow in the dark pin, and the pin being framed with the print, there's only 500 of them.
Mm.
I'm not even sure if it's still on sale. Let me check. Diablo the cat. I think it's still on sale. Yeah, doesn't say it's sold out.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, obviously, if you want something more serious, there's the Diablo Cannibals print, and if you want something fluffy, you have the Midsummer Fire Festival print as well.
Yeah, and it's a really well done. Like it's so pretty. It captures the Dark Moon Fair with the little tents everywhere and the fireworks. And the fireworks, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it took me a moment to realize that
Oh, Alliance and Horde.
yeah, it's Alliance and Horde fireworks, and then you have little Ragnaros and the Syndicate, and I don't know, it looks really, really lovely. So very cute in many ways. And the Syndicate's face is like a bit sort of, I guess, sassy or a bit fierce, which is also really
Very
cute.
cat.
Very
Yeah.
cat, yes, very
Yes.
feral, very bright paw.
I'm
So
feeling all this
it's
cat fur
awful.
on my face from when
I
he
mean,
left, so
adorable.
I'm like, oh, very cat, very sassy.
Yeah.
Thank you for messing things up, Bright Paw. Um,
I just accidentally said it's
uh,
awful. I meant it's adorable. It's adorable, is what I
yeah,
meant to say,
he
yes.
is adorable.
Well,
But
yes,
yeah,
Brightpaw's adorable too.
all of all of this is on sale. I think because of the pandemic and the like pre-orders, this won't ship immediately, but it all should ship by end of October.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, pretty cool stuff. And it's nice to see that. I feel like towards the end of BFA, they weren't doing a lot of merchandise, and there were some characters that were kind of underused, like Ashara and Rathian with merch. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see them trying to get more creative again for Shadowlands.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And this is just a small highlight of everything, of course. We picked out the things
Yeah,
that
there's
were
lots of
most.
Overwatch stuff as well, but we
Mm-hmm.
figured that people watching the show, you'd
Yeah,
care more about the Vulgen statue
yeah,
than like, new like Overwatch figurines.
yeah.
But they're pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Just not as,
Yeah.
not World of Warcraft related.
Try to pick the most relevant ones for you guys. But if you want
Yeah.
to see other things by Blizzard, you can feel free to check it out.
They even have Hearthstone stuff, which it seemed weird because they have like a Hearthstone playing card statue of Ragnaros, but it's clearly Hearthstone because it's got
Oh.
like the card art, and it feels like with WoW Classic being so popular and Ragnaros being such an important character that the statue with a few tweaks could have also been like a classic Ragnaros.
Actually, true. Yeah, it could have been. I see it.
But yeah, so this
And one
is
thing which is
yeah.
quite funny, I wonder if
Hmm.
it'll sell at all, is that they have a Warcraft 3 Reforged pin. What do you
Well,
think of that?
pin collectors will collect anything. Like it's a pin. They want the pin.
True. So they need everything.
Yeah, like when I was talking to Sass, I was like, Sass, guess what? There's a new pin, and he's like, oh, what's it with? I'm like, oh, you have to get the pin if you buy this Diablo 4 fine art, and he's like, oh, fine, I'll buy a fine art print. Like now he's gonna have some like gruesome piece of art just because he wants the pin associated with it.
That's actually funny.
Yeah.
Hey, Sass, if you're buying things only because of the pin, feel free to send everything else to me, you know? I'll just
You know,
take it all.
there's been like jackets and stuff that come with a pin, and like he doesn't want the jacket, but he'll get the
Just the
pin.
pin.
So yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it's like ATT in real life.
Yep.
Yep, yep, yep. But yeah, they have some really cool arts and stuff, so definitely check it out if you're interested in that. Oh, next topic here is the big one.
Fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a fun one. What is going away with
Yeah.
Shadowlands? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So some of these we already knew, but some of these were things that we weren't 100% sure
Mm-hmm.
of. So to highlight some of the more surprise ones, uh, the Brutosaur cannot be purchased from a vendor in the pre-patch. However, if you find it on the black market auction house in the future, you can still get the feat of strength. It just will, be a lot harder to get. Mad World from Horrific Visions will be gone, but you can still do Horrific Visions for rewards like the Mail Muncher. You just can't get the Faceless One title in the pre-patch.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
just to clarify, so Mad World is the achievement you get for
mhm.
doing both Stormwind and Orgrimmar with 5 masks, and you get the title, like Perk said, the Faceless one, and the achievement too. So if you don't do it before pre-patch, you will not be able to get the achievement, and therefore not the title either.
This one I saw you retweeting because I think you were surprised it was going away too. The Phenomenal Cosmic Power achievement and then the Azeroth
Oh
Champion
yeah.
title,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot earn that at Shadowlands launch. So all the rank 4 essences with cosmetic effects, you cannot get. And something which is interesting is that some of the achievements require you to do rank 4 require you to do like rated content. So those
Yep.
components will not be obtainable in the pre-patch. Like if you need to do a ranked PvP achievement, season 4 PvP ends in the pre-patch. So you have even
Oh.
less time to get some of that stuff done.
Is that confirmed? Like, can't you just receive 2.4 after?
Well, let me just
No, I think you're
yeah,
right though,
yeah,
because I think during pre-patch
yeah.
you don't gain rating. Actually, you do, but you just don't gain the bracket achievements, I think.
I think there's also I isn't like the mythic plus component as well. and
Yeah, like
like
because
that season ends too.
the season does end for sure. So I think you can no longer gain the achievements like rival, gladiator, and things like that.
Yeah,
But I think you can still get rating. So I think you could still get 2.4 rating.
yeah.
I'm not
There's
100%
well,
sure
there
though.
is the Anima Life and Death, Life Bind, or essence of the focusing iris,
Mm-hmm.
um, makes you complete all dungeons at mythic level 15,
Yeah,
with the achievement season 3 or 4, and that
that is going
definitely
away.
ends in the pre-patch.
Okay.
Like you
All
cannot
right.
get
Mm-hmm.
the mount with it as well in the pre-patch, the Awakened Mind Borer. So
Yeah. So
that
it
one
might
at
stay the
least is
same.
going to be a blocker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, the Hertz Locker achievement is also going away in the pre-patch, and that's tied to Vision of Perfection. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another one you need to get done sooner than later.
Yeah. Time to get farming. I'm actually still missing the honor one, the 100,000 honor. I've been slacking, not done enough
Well,
BGs.
gotta get farming.
Yep, gotta get farming. And apparently the Wrathy Brawl is happening soon, and that one is very, very
Oh,
good
that's
for
really good for
honor.
honor. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's
thanks for
gonna
that
be my goal.
reminder. I think when that comes next, I'll be like, hey, if you
Oh
want your
yeah,
rank 4,
this
here's a
is
good
the
time to
best
get it.
time.
I'll make a post on that.
Yep, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wait for that. In the meantime, I'm trying to just spam Deepwind Gorge because I never actually went back to the new achievements since the revamp.
Right.
So I'm trying to do that and casually and slowly gain some honor and then go ham with a Wrathy Brawl.
Yeah. So some of the other ones that are more expected that are going
Mm-hmm.
away, the Uncorrupted Voidwing, you cannot earn after Shadowlands launch, which is different than Ahead of the Curve and Cutting Edge. Those achievements are going away in the pre-patch.
Yep,
So there will be this like brief period where you can't get Ahead of the Curve achievement, but you can still do the
get the
quest for the
mount.
Void.
Yep.
And Annie is really big. I'm sure you all know because you all watch her too. But she is very big on helping people get their uncorrupted Voidwing. So,
Thank you.
if look out
I
for
love that
Annie
shout
and
out.
other groups like Perky Pugs that are putting groups together to help people get this mount.
Yeah,
If you ever raid group yourself.
yeah. So I focus on Alliance EU. I will probably do some Horde EU as well, but for now I'm focusing on Alliance. And the next set of runs that we're doing is this coming Saturday. What date is that? So the first of August. So that's when we'll be running some curve runs and to help people get it. I think Perky Pugs help people on NA, or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Perky
Yeah,
Pugs is
you
focused on
do
NA.
some EU as well, but their focus is NA, and also they do some like charity runs, and
Gotcha,
some other mounts and achievements as well.
gotcha. And then also a shout out to Ready Set Dragons who do Horde EU runs. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
a few groups around, and if you're Alliance EU, then you can join me on my runs. If you're lucky,
Yeah.
hopefully. I want to help as many as possible, or we want to help as many as possible. But of course, there might be a limit based on how many spots there are and everything.
Yep.
I see a question in the chat which makes this all very relevant too. Do you need a specific item level to enter? No. So the way I'm not 100% sure how the other guys are doing their boosts. I'm assuming quite similar. In my boost runs, I'm inviting a bunch of people who are carries who will carry everyone that we invite. And then we might invite maybe 10 people to boost. Those people, the only requirements for you is to be max level so you can actually enter the instance, and that's it really. As long as you're in the same faction and same region, you don't need anything else. You don't need gear, you don't need the cloak. Not having the cloak does mean that you'll instantly get mind controlled and you will die, but you will still be eligible to loot and still get your mount. So how that's how that works. Yeah.
So other
Mm-hmm.
things that are going away, the corruption system is gone.
Yep.
It's There's a difference between the essences, which you can have your essences work after Shadowlands launch, just not in Shadowland zones, and corruptions that are just gone. So you can't like farm up a bunch of corruption and have some special like corruption farming set for old world runs. They're just gone.
Yep.
Like you can't buy them. They're gone on your gear. They are just going away.
I think they'll
Uh
still be there as flavor text, but they'll just be grayed out.
Yeah, or like if you have a bunch of scrolls stocked up,
Oh
the
yeah,
scrolls
they'll
just turn into broken items, so
yeah.
you can't put them on gear in the future.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Another thing is, as we mentioned, the season 4 PvP that ends as well. So if you're working on Gladiator or trying to collect like season 4 transmogs or rated mounts or anything, you need to get that out of the way before the pre-patch as well.
Mm-hmm. And the season mount, the vicious mount, which
Oh yeah,
that one requires, I think, around 100 wins. It's not really win based
yeah,
anymore. It's percentage based. You can do
yeah. The
different
the
kinds of
conquest
content.
bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that could be a good mount to go for as well. I also think that they said in the past that you'll be able to use marks of honor to buy previous seasons mounts
Yeah,
from
in the
this
next
expansion.
expansion, that's also going to happen with Transmog. From like season 1 and season 2, there are Marks of Honor vendor and Shadowlands for that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's coming along. And then there's some stuff that Blizzard didn't mention in their post that maybe they'll clarify in the future, or things that Wowhead has noted. For example, if you're doing the achievements outside for like world PvP to get the Conqueror mount and title, in Shadowlands there'll probably be fewer people outside, so you want to get that done now.
True.
And or it's like we know that horrific visions, islands, and warfronts are sticking around, but we don't know if queuing up will be easier or if you can solo things. So it may be harder to, find groups to run island expeditions for any toys or transmog you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was that confusion in one of the Shadowland event interviews where I think Hazel asked if islands could be solo queued, and the Blizzard rep said he didn't think anything was changing, and we covered that, and people started panicking. And I think Ian was then like, "Oh, we haven't set that up yet," so it was very unclear
Yeah.
if you could solo an island or if you needed a full group for an island, and that makes a big difference
Mm-hmm.
as far as accessibility.
Farming, of course. Yeah, it sounded like they just simply haven't thought about it
Right.
because many priorities in other places. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it would make sense for us to be able to solo queue it. Then it's up to us if we, can make it or not.
Yeah. So those were some things. As the community comes to Blizzard with questions, they have been updating their post. For example, they mentioned that Hertzlocker was going away, and they didn't say that at the start. And they also mentioned that the Brutosaur achievement could be tied to the black market auction house. It just obviously would be, rarer. So if
Mm-hmm.
people keep, if something is unclear in their post, if you keep asking, Blizzard has been, periodically going back and updating the post to be better.
Yep.
Paw. Hello, Bright Paw. No. He's trying to shut my
No
notes.
walking on cables.
No. So I
I think
think
that was
we can get
everything.
into the model updates next and show the cat, which is why Brightpaw has returned. He wanted to see the cat on the screen.
Yeah.
Do we have any new subs to mention? I think
Yeah.
there's a few in the notes. Yeah.
Yeah, we might have mentioned a couple in the pre show, but might as well mention them again since now we're in the actual show. So we had Thranduil, a fresh new subscriber here, and also someone from my community, actually. Thank you very
Awesome.
much for supporting Wowhead. We also have Lincoln with a 31-month resub. So thank you very, very much for that, Lincoln, supporting for so long. And we have It's Utur. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. It's
Yeah, he's one
Utur.
of our mods
Yeah, I
and
saw that he's a
localizers on
mod.
Wowhead. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a 22-month resub, so also
Oh,
a big one
thank
there.
you.
Thank you very much. And then we have Sebsy, a new subscriber in the channel. So
Yay.
welcome and thank you. And Stringard, who just subscribed.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you. And I believe that's it. So now we can go into all the different model updates. So we have quite a few of them actually to go through. Some of them
Yeah, it was pretty
cuter than
surprising.
others.
Because,
Yeah.
like, normally at the start, like in the alpha, you see a ton of models and it sort of dies down. But we got a ton this time, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, first, let's talk about Sylvanas.
Yep.
I believe in the past we've talked about how when I did the art interview and I asked which models were challenging, they had this really insightful long reply on how Sylvanas was tough to design for Shadowlands because her skin was
Yep.
gray, but the
Mm-hmm.
maw armor was gray, and they didn't want her to look too like one note blob, no details from far away. So
Mm-hmm.
they've been tweaking a lot of her color contrasts, and the past build tweaked it for the second time, so we're on our third version of Sylvanas.
Yep.
And they talked about how in the interview at one point they played with her skin tone being more pink, but it didn't fit her vibe of being undead, so they swapped the skin tone back to a paler, just plain gray shade, and then played with the color contrast in like her eyes and making some of the armor paler so the dark part of the armor stood out more. Little color tweaks here and there.
Let me show you guys the initial model first. Here. And then we have the first update that happened, which turned her skin a bit more pink, actually.
Yeah.
Here. And then the latest update.
It also seems it wasn't just a skin tone change, but the shape of her face has slightly changed, which has put more of her features in like relief with the shadows, which also adds some contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Like her face looks leaner and less less round cheeks.
Mm-hmm. In the latest update.
Yeah. And then that in turn makes half of her face more like angular and shadowy with the hood, as opposed to her face just being very like light gray and pale. So there's more contrast between the sides of her face, which adds some more visual interest. Which I think that's really interesting. Like, to a normal person, everyone's just like, oh my god, Sylvanas got new gray armor, but there's so many details that go into making it look right. And
so much.
You didn't even notice that her skin tone had changed a few weeks ago, and then when we compared everything together, we're like, oh yeah, they've actually been really playing a lot with these color changes. Even if you look at her shirt, the part where her waist is, even the tint of that dark area, it's changed. Like, it used to have more of a purple tint, and now it has more of a brown tint. So I just think that's interesting how you can keep the armor and still give it the same vibe, but if you play off all like the blacks and the grays, it can add a lot of definition. So I think that stuff's really fun.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that they're putting so much effort into making sure that Sylvanas feels right for everyone.
Yeah. Also, Brightpaw, no. I think he was going to pull a wire out.
You seem to still be here, so we're safe for now at least. Yeah. Internet is still working.
For a change of pace, this I think was like one of the most well-received happy posts of like the past month.
Because it's unexpected.
Like, there were there were like no upset comments. Don't even ask, Brightpaw. There are new player weapon models tied to Exile's Reach, which are simple but high definition. So you can actually have like an axe and have it look like an axe. There's all these, effects on it, and also not have it look like a potato. It looks like a nice high definition, realistic weapon.
No longer 2 pixels.
Yeah, and they do that for so many things. Like, you have bows, daggers. People are really happy with warglaives because there aren't too many of them, and so many of the warglaives are like very fel infused in Legion or from a raid, and it's nice to actually have a simple warglaive for a change. And people also really like the shields because you have like a silver hand shield, you have a scarlet monastery shield. Brightpaw, stop. You have an alliance shield, you have a bamboo staff, so a lot of monks are really excited about having an actual piece of bamboo instead of this is a staff infused by like the Shaw of Anger. Is like, oh, I just want a bamboo staff, and it's just people are really happy about these.
Yeah, it is really cool.
It's nice
because
to have that option.
Yeah, there's a lot of really old weapons that sometimes people still use because they look decent with a nice enchant. And having these at higher definition is so much better.
Yeah. So we don't know how to get these yet. We think they're going to be tied to Exile's Reach just because of the naming conventions of the models.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if Blizzard was on the fence about adding these, people love these. They
Yeah, yeah.
definitely want them in the game.
Mm-hmm. I think it makes sense having because they could have done one of two things, right? They could have gone back and updated all the old things,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of doing that, because maybe some people have somewhat of sentimental like value or feelings to some of those weapons because they've had it for so long. So having like a new area now with low level content have these weapons is a perfect balance in that sense, because then you have the high HD ones and you still have the 2 pixel ones if you prefer them.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they're really fun. And maybe Blizzard. Interesting to learn something too. How maybe not you don't need more is always better.
Yeah,
Simple things can be good too.
yeah, yeah. And especially with weapons, like I said, with enchants, a lot of the old, very simple weapons look so much better with enchants than the new ones do, because the new ones look so good that you don't need an enchant. So,
Right, or the enchants like can obscure it because it
yeah.
already has a lot of its own glowy
Mm-hmm.
effects going on, or clipping issues as well. Make maybe some weapons with doodads like clip into your cloak or your helmet, or
That's also true.
it's even harder to match them with transmog if they have all these colors going on. Like you need the perfect set to match all the colors.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Indeed, indeed. And
So
speaking of more updated, more newer model weapons, we have a
yeah,
sword to show off to you guys from the Maw, a two-handed
yeah.
sword.
Speaking of complicated transmog sets that need the perfect weapon to match with it, these match the data mine sets called Maw Raid, which we've learned are going to be used for the legendary item models, but you could collect a full set of in a future unknown patch.
Mm-hmm.
So we think more of these are coming. Right now we just have the two-handed sword, but people really like these,
Ooh, the black and red.
especially yeah, the black and red, and then the white with the little icy bit at the end. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
very, very Arthas. People are hype about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a perfect
And
example of looking at them and it's like they don't really need an enchant. I mean, you could add one to
no, you don't
enhance it
want them.
more,
Yeah.
but like you don't really need it.
Yeah, especially things like that have the red tip or the purple tip. Like that's just perfect as is.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So these are really cool. We don't know how to get them yet. There aren't legendary weapons in Shadowlands, so it's not like you put a power on this item and then it turns into this effect. But I like they're so cool. They have to be used for players.
Mm-hmm. And so many
Um,
different colors too.
yeah, I'm just thinking of that plate red transmog set with that weapon. That's gonna look so good.
Yes.
How everything looks very Arthas, like Lich King Ice Crown inspired. So,
Mm-hmm.
very hyped to see what happens to these weapons in the future.
Yeah.
So, in cuter news, we have so many cute models this past build. They're adorable.
I love how we just call it in the cuter news. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Here we go. Definition of cute. We have a model of a new battle pet tree, little baby tree,
Cute. It's
which
a little
is very
terrifying,
adorable.
but also cute.
Yeah, and then we have the jelly cat, which is already gone, and the winged lion pet as well. So we got new kitties. I'm sure Brightpaw would be very very happy with these.
Fly? Imagine if Brightpaw could fly.
Mm-hmm. Imagine. Yeah, there's
You
more
take
color
over the world.
variants of these, and we don't know the exact sources of them, but we can expect to see them in game soon. This the jelly cat. I'm a little bit conflicted. I'm not sure if I should call it cute or creepy.
It can be both.
Yeah,
It's super cute.
I guess it's both.
I don't know like the official name of this. One of the developers, Muffinus,
Hmm.
I think it was called like Slime Cat in the data or like Cat Slime,
Oh,
but he
yeah.
was calling it Jelly Cat on Twitter, and the name stuck. And then he was also making jokes, being like, "Oh, like this could be Mr. Jigglesworth because it's made out of jelly."
Oh, yeah.
Um, so I'm curious to see if this cat plays an important role or not because a lot of the other pet models come in multiple colors, but this cat only
Only
comes
one color,
in
yeah.
the green so far.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder if it's like an important or rare cat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Jigglesworth. It's quite
yep,
funny. I like
yellow
it.
cat.
Yep.
There's like a bunch of other stuff. There's like really cute squirrels coming as well. There are
Mm-hmm.
little BB bat pets that look like they're from Revendreth because they've got these big necklaces on.
Mm-hmm.
And something which, if you're a fan of the toad mounts in BFA, you'll probably like this. There is a toad mount coming that seems to be tied to Ardenweald that has a really over the top funny mount special.
Yeah. And look at the texture on it. I love how it looks.
It's like celestial toad.
Yeah, it's celestial and
If you
and
look
it's
at
got
this
the
kit,
grass on top of it.
yeah. Yeah, the grass is fun as well.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, let's show you guys the mount special too. Here. There we go. Oh, a little celestial fly or butterfly even. He's
Yep.
looking at it. Oh, and he ate it. And there it is. Oh, yep. It's eaten up. Bulbasaur, it does look a little bit like Bulbasaur actually. Very good
Oh,
point.
it
Yeah, the
does.
Bulbasaur
Yeah.
pet. I mean, mount even.
With Pokemon Go Fest just happening, that's pretty timely. There needs
True.
to be like it just needs like a big flower on its head. Then it would be really similar to Bulbasaur
Yep.
and the evolutions.
Yep.
But yeah, lots of cute things. Do you like the tree more than the cat? Because I'm sort of team cat, and like Twitter was arguing about this a lot last week when we found them.
Um, I think with these specific examples that we have here, I'm kind of leaning towards Team Tree here. Like the
Well, the cat is going to climb on the tree and use it as a cat tree.
true, then we can get both.
Yeah.
No, there's something about this tree. Wait, let me see. There it is. It is something about this tree that's just so adorable, and I also feel like it's pretty unique too. Like we haven't seen any tree pets in them. Well, actually, we have. That's not true, but not any that are cute. You know, with big
It'd be
eyes.
really fun to have like a resto druid with
Yeah,
this little tree following it
yeah.
around. I like how it has the little things tied around its feet. I don't know why it has things tied around its feet, but with the little handkerchief
Oh yeah,
and
it's so
the feet
cute.
ties, I
Yeah,
think that adds a bit of style to it.
yeah. It's like having a little bit of clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really cute.
And then finally, for our last model,
Mm-hmm.
we have an updated spirit healer, which makes sense because we're finally going to the land of the dead. And it makes sense why we have spirit healers. And I like how they've kind of got a Kyrian aesthetic to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you like between the blues and the wings and the way their sort of armor is, it ties into what we know about the Kyrian lore and the Valkyr.
Mm-hmm.
They've got really fun wings with the different layers. They look really fun. I wish we could have wings like that.
Yeah, we need wings like that.
So, yeah, I like how it's just like it's very pretty, but it's also rooted in what we're learning about Bastion and the Valkyr. It
Yeah,
works on
it's
different
perfect timing
levels.
to update it.
Yeah.
Definitely very fitting.
So,
Yeah.
not model related, but we have our first look at Castle Nathria, and we have lots of pretty pictures of that.
Yes. Lots of pictures of the environment of Castle
I want to live
Nathria.
there. It's so cool.
It's so spooky though. Do you want to live there or just sightsee for, maybe a couple hours?
I feel like maybe sightsee if you took the Ardenweald garden and stuck it outside so I could go between having
Yeah.
the pretty garden and then like I could go have the goth castle when that was too
Uh-huh.
much I could go into the garden again. I think that would
Uh-huh.
be fun.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect match. That would be the best
But yeah,
balance.
very spooky, but it's
It
meant to
is.
resemble like an actual castle. So
Mm-hmm.
for people that haven't been following along, it's meant to feel like decadent but lived in, so you have things like a museum gallery or a ballroom where there's dancing, or
Mm-hmm.
there's like the dungeons where they torture the prisoners with lights. So you've got this really, like, a lot of the castle's red, but then in the dungeon part it's very like black and white
Yeah,
because
and
it
more
just has
gray.
the light, which is
Mm-hmm.
very like effective. And then you go back to the red ballroom again.
Mm-hmm.
um there's a room with a lot of weaponry in it, which from far away kind of looks like organ pipes, which I think is great. Uh, there's a room with lots of great stained glass. And if you zoom in, the stained glass looks like a rose, a sword, and kind of a pumpkin. So there's like a good sense of humor going on there. There's banquet tables. And we have the raid testing has just started, and we know more is coming. But we know that they wanted to get across the creepy party vibe. So, there's like kind of dance mechanics in one fight. There's another fight where like you go through the floor and you fight on multiple levels. And it looks super pretty, very eye-catching. Like I remember with Uldir, it's like, oh, and this is the Titan raid and all the blood things, but
Yeah.
this just looks pretty in its own right.
I want to show the one that you mentioned with the pumpkin face.
Yeah, it's on the right-hand panel.
Yeah,
Do
there
you
it
need
is.
the image or did you
I
find it?
I
Yeah.
got it. I got it. Just
Cool.
wanted to show it to people so they could see. Um, and yeah, because I generally have a slideshow going on so we can get a taste
Nice.
of everything. And then you can see exactly as Perk mentioned how there's so many different even color schemes within the same castle, and it's really cool to see that too. It's not just like everything is red and black. It's really mixed. It's like this part is more gray, this part is more white, this part is more yellow, and yeah, it touches a lot of different color schemes like that.
Yeah. What are you doing? He is. Oh, he got his foot stuck in a wire. Right, Paul, this is why you don't
Oh.
sit on the wire. But yeah, so they tested 4 encounters this past week, and I'm sure there's going to be more coming up. Maybe not this week because of WoW Classic, but pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
But because the raid came out, they did a very interesting art interview at SA Gamer, and they highlighted a lot of the concept art coming in Revendreth, which, if I had a suspicion, my guess would be that it's tied to some of the art they're going to be showing in the collector's edition art book. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really interesting. Like the concept art of the Venthyr is very cool. But the thing that most draw my attention was that they did concept art of all of the Castle Nathria armor sets, and we haven't seen all of them yet.
Oh yeah.
Notably, the leather shoulders. We know that they have like a really cool vampire coat and top hat, but we didn't know how the shoulders fit in. And now in this art, we see that there are these very interesting blades kind of strapped together.
Let me get the image. Actually, it
Yeah,
shows this empty, so I think I missed it somehow. Uh,
I can link the image if you need it.
yeah, if you could
Okay,
link it directly.
yeah, it is. I will put it in the document. Do. Okay, it's added.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm. And I'll pull it in. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, so now I have both versions because I had the image of what we had seen before. I'll remind you guys. So the shoulders were missing, and we were talking about how cool it looks and everything, but that we had no idea how the shoulders look. And
Right.
now we see the concept art of all the different ones, which includes a look at the leather model too.
Yeah. So I think I'm cool with it. I think if it was like fabric shoulders, it would be too much. Um, so having the metal spikes, I think, is interesting. And if, of course, if you don't want the shoulders, you can always hide it.
Yeah, I think it does have a nice contrast to the smoothness of just having a coat. And like you said,
Mhm.
if you don't like it, you just hide it.
Yeah. I wonder what the other tints will be like if like the blades could resemble some of the actual weapons. I think that would be cool. Like
Mm,
you're holding a dagger and it looks like the dagger that's stuck in your shoulders. I
yeah,
think that'd be interesting.
That would be
Also, an
cool.
interesting way to store your daggers. Like, instead of having them be at your side, you also have little weapon racks on your
Yeah.
shoulders as well.
Then you grab a
So,
dagger and throw it from the shoulder. That would be cool. Yeah, that was it, I think, on the Castle Nathria parts.
yeah. I mean, not too much to say with early raid testing. I would just say that a lot of the early tests, a lot of people are frustrated that they couldn't, like defeat the boss or even stay connected. And a lot of the early tests are more for Blizzard to test ability than it is, for your guild to get a sneak preview at the encounters.
Yeah.
Uh, that said, Blizzard was right before the test started, they were inviting a lot more like cutting edge people to it. So if you thought that your guild wasn't invited maybe a week ago, you know, more guilds are getting invited for testing now.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Yeah, I saw some people mention on Twitter how they want to do raid testing, but there's no invitations, and just be patient. They are inviting more and more people, and when it's on a thing which is raiding, for example, they will consider people who have cutting edge and similar. So hopefully soon. Make sure that you have opted in though on the Battle.net website.
Yeah, that is the way to for Blizzard to know that you are interested
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like saying, "Hey Blizzard, I'm interested in playing the beta," and then they'll be like, "Okay, you'll be in the next pool, maybe, if you're lucky."
yeah. There are no keys at the current time, so
No.
like Wowhead doesn't have keys to give away. There aren't any keys on eBay. If you see that, that is a scam.
Yep. Do not buy a beta key. They do not exist.
Yeah. So we have a few speculation things before we highlight some of the story quests.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this first topic is something we were kind of joking about with Preach last week, like, oh, what happens if Soulbind conduits receive ranks and, this ability hits for, 100% at level 15 versus, 10% at level 0. And we thought it was, like an unfinished system or maybe a remnant of a system that was like created and then abandoned. But then in the recent build, they added over 700 more data entries to the conduit rank database, which to us makes it seem like they have not abandoned this system. It is actively being worked on, and
Yeah.
we're not exactly sure what is going on with it. Just there's a lot of work happening to it.
Yeah.
So that's gotten a lot of people anxious,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least.
Mm-hmm. So
It's like,
more
oh,
ranks
your
added.
divine
Yeah.
speed is now 100% longer, 10 minutes off reincarnation. So a lot of people are wondering, like, what is going on with this system? Is this tied to the replacement system of destroying conduits? Like, do you have to grind them from 0 to 15? Or if you do something on mythic difficulty, does, the conduit naturally start at like rank, 14 versus rank 1? A lot of people are puzzled by this data, especially as Blizzard continues to add to it.
Mm-hmm. Because we haven't really gotten any comment on the rank thing, right, from Blizzard.
No, there's been no blue posts on it.
Mm-hmm.
It just sort of showed up around the time Ian like inserted into the Preach discussion that they were working on another system, so people assumed with like Ian's comment and how this appeared around the same time that they are related, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't really know what's going
No.
on with it.
No. We don't know how the ranks work, and we don't know if they're even here to stay. Um,
Right.
guess
But
we'll
when you
find
have
out soon.
multiple builds that keep adding them,
Yeah.
it seems like it's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, a blue post on this would be great.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want another repeat of like the Void Elf blue eye colors where it turns out something was being implemented, but because of past things Blizzard said, uh, players thought it wasn't implemented and people started arguing if the data was real or not. Like we don't want a discussion on that because that's not really fun.
No.
And it's not really like productive. Like we
Mm-hmm.
we just want to know what's going on so we can evaluate the system fairly.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing is spell variance was being added, but it's more accurate to say it was re-added. Uh, Basically, they are adding spell variance back into WoW for most non-periodic abilities, and the variance will be small, like 5%. So if ability says it hits for 1,000, it could hit between like 950 or 1,050. Of course, this has led people to be like, oh wow, if there's variance, my ability could hit for like 1 or 1,000,000, and then that could like turn the tide of a raid encounter, and like I won't have my raid spot. Like people were very worried about it,
Yeah.
and Ian actually pointed out that this was how WoW classes worked for 12 plus years, and it was only in Legion that this functionality was lost when they updated their spell system and couldn't. This didn't work in the new spell system.
Like, I
So I
think
think
that
with
the
that
scaling of
logic,
the damage or something completely broke that
yeah,
system. And then
yeah,
because of that, they had to implement a more static system of the damage always being the same. And now they have, managed to do the coding for it to make it go back to how it used to be with a slight variance variance in the damage. So it's actually something which is new, which is coming back. It's not something brand new which is being added to the game. It's not an extra layer of RNG to make people angry. It seems like it's always been there, and it was just lost due to how the game was working mechanically.
Yeah, I think it feels better knowing that this was in WoW and it was sort of always there for many years. And like the Blue Post stated this, and then Ian restated that again. So, like 5% is such a small amount that it's not like 50%. It's not like, oh, this ability could like one shot the boss if I get lucky with
Yeah.
the variance RNG. It's not, it doesn't have that wide a range.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't be as crazy as corruptions have been with RNG. It should be small
No.
and almost non-noticeable when it's a longer fight anyways.
Yeah, and also auto attacks, white damage, and enemy damage still have variance, so that this system isn't, new. It's like, oh, the boss can hit for slightly different amounts on each pull. Like that's just basically what it's like. But no one is like, oh, we got unlucky with boss variance, so that's why we wiped.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
shouldn't
like
have a
the
huge
boss gets
impact.
powered up. It's just a little bit of change.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep.
Um, and this was an interesting
Yeah,
topic
this
this
was an
morning.
interesting one.
Is WoW coming to Xbox?
Yeah.
So yeah, there is the website called Gematsu, which covers gaming news, and they and other people discovered that on some retailers in Brazil, um, their Shadowlands was marked as Xbox Series X and PC, which was taken down. Um, and this, of course, reopened the discussion: is Shadowlands coming to Xbox? I still don't think it totally is, because after we data mined the gamepad support, Blizzard made a blue post saying that this was done to make WoW more widely accessible, and they wanted to add more support for keybinds, camera, and turning a character on controllers. But this wasn't like, the intention was not to be full blown console support.
Yep.
But people seem really hype about this, so I wonder if they'll like test it out in Shadowlands, and then 10.0 we'd see something. Although the worry is that if something is designed for console, it would have to be like simplified, or like more like similar to how like the Diablo UI works, and then you start designing with consoles in mind, and then WoW loses like the PC RPG elements. But
Exactly.
people seem really like they like the idea of playing WoW in their living room on a console on their gigantic TV.
I think you made a
So
really good point there, because that's something that can be quite worrying. If you start having
mhm.
the game on console too, then they have to start designing with that in mind. And
Right.
I think we already have issues where people feel like the core elements of WoW is going away because of today's day and age of how gaming works and everything. And if we have to lose even more to potential console gamers, will I think that could also worsen it even more. I think it could be interesting with having them let people try out the gamepads and everything now in Shadowlands, which they said they will do. They will have more support for controllers. But a full on having the whole thing available on the Xbox, I don't think I like that. If they would allow people to just play it as a port and it's got like no support, then sure. But otherwise, I think it should just stay PC.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of discussions how people feel that like corruptions feel bad, like it doesn't feel good to hit one button and then have a bunch of crazy procs occur. And it feels like with a console, if you simplify like the player's, movement or the number of abilities a player has, what can fit on a controller, if you would have to rely more on, external procs or, one ability potentially doing elaborate things, and people, that's not, you don't feel in control of your character in WoW when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think that definitely making WoW more accessible is a positive step. But I don't see Blizzard trying to get official support and designing this as like a console blockbuster.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about having a more simplified UI, and that tells me that in this expansion, there could have been console gamers because all they would need
Right.
is good RNG and like infinite stars or
Yeah.
Twilight Devastation, and
And
people
then
wouldn't
you
even
record
tell.
when I got Gladiator on a console with infinite stars.
Yep, yep. No, but I do hope that nothing will ever be balanced for console gaming. And also, I think people will, as pointed out in the chat, I think people will be judged for being console gamers too. So in LFG or in any other kind of environments, if you notice that somebody's a console gamer, you may not want to invite them. So,
The only thing I could think of is if you have the console split from the PC, and like that could be designed slightly differently, but then there's still a question of like, spillover, like, oh, they're different, but
mhm,
maybe this ability was designed to like feel really fun on the console versus PC.
mhm.
um I know there's also like a lot of debates surrounding the leveling experience not being like great, so it could be interesting if you could do like a single player like playthrough of different leveling zones on a console, like a single player campaign. But that's
Mm.
I feel like that would be interesting, but at that point that's almost like a separate game than the end game in WoW.
Yeah, it's like World
But
of
I
Warcraft, the
do think
PvE game.
yeah, I do think it could be interesting though if you're just like relaxing and you're plowing through easy content on this
Mhm.
big immersive screen, and you
Mhm.
can really appreciate the graphics and the music,
Yeah.
and like you're playing through the story. I think that would be a fun experience, but I'm not sure how it fits into the larger, picture and development goals of Shadowlands.
Yeah. And I feel like if consoles ever become a core part of the World of Warcraft player base in any way, it would encourage more pruning and remove
Mm.
abilities that are not needed because there's no space for them.
And you remove a lot of nuance that way, or like
Yeah.
even graphics, and you start designing things that look good from like a console perspective as opposed to a PC perspective, or just like
Mhm.
even like like people's monitors have different dimensions, resolutions, like like you're sitting usually farther away when you're playing a console. I feel like there would be subtle changes that would just impact the style of WoW.
Mhm. For sure.
Or like add-ons, like how do you
Oh,
do you
yeah, how do you
have
navigate add-ons?
yeah. So there are a lot of questions, but I don't. That's why I don't think it would officially be coming
Yeah.
to console.
Yeah. I think it's too much work. I don't think it'll be worth.
Yeah. So another interesting topic is that there's World PvP updates and a few different interesting things related to even some world quests.
Oh yeah.
As I'm sure you all may remember, there were PvP world quests in Legion, not in BFA, and they seem to be returning now, and completing a bunch of them is even tied to a world PvP meta that rewards the Deathbringer title and mount. And the Deathbringer title sounds super cool.
It does sound really cool.
It sounds like a Bolvar title or like a Death Knight only title, but it's really cool. I like it.
Deathbringer. It does
I
sound
feel
really
like
cool.
the mount is not very
Yeah.
as cool, but the title is really cool.
Yeah, the mount is a little bit, yeah, not very cool, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's got 2 heads.
Yeah, I guess that's something. That's different.
That's
Yeah.
something. I think I have a GIF of it as well to show off.
Yeah.
Here. There we go. To see the
Cool.
mount special.
Yeah. It's not bad. I just was, yeah, I'm thinking like Deathbringer. I'm thinking like, I don't know, Mount wearing an Arthas hat or some like frost-tinged armor or something like that. But it's not bad.
Yeah, this feels a little bit like it feels like somewhat of a low level um, I don't know, like a warrior feel to it in a way. Rather than a
Yeah,
Death
it's
Knight
like,
feel. It feels more like a warrior.
yeah, I get that. It also reminds me of Maldraxxus, which makes sense because it's like
Mm,
world PvP, but I
mm-hmm.
feel like, I don't know, like if I was in the Maldraxxus Covenant and I got this, I'd probably be like, yeah, I've got something pretty similar. Like I want something, more unique for what all this extra work I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think the mount isn't bad, but just in comparison, in contrast to the title Deathbringer, which sounds really cool, the mount doesn't
Yeah.
feel like Deathbringer. But yeah, that's what you get. You get the title in the mount for completing the meta achievement that covers a bunch of the new world PvP quests, which were similar to the ones in Legion. We didn't have any in BFA, but we had those world quests in Legion when we were, I think, originally introduced to the honor system, which we're
Yeah.
currently using.
The we don't really know the rewards yet, the real placeholder, but
Yeah.
something interesting is people are like, "Oh, Legion was really good for marks of honor. Do you think the Shadowlands ones could also maybe give marks of honor, especially if there are lots of things to buy, like, the old BFA transmog aspirant sets?" So, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then
And
finally,
mm-hmm.
this throws a wrench. I'm curious to know your opinion since you do lots of PvP and achievements. The honorable medallion talent slot is being removed in Shadowlands, and if you want that functionality, you will have to buy trinkets that require you to do PvP activities.
Yeah.
So you will only have 3 honor talents instead of 4, and this seems to affect the people at the more casual level, since that was the first PvP talent you got, and that's going away. And even if you're a PvPer, instead of this being an additional talent effect, it now, if you want it, it takes the place of one of your, PvE trinkets.
Yep. I
So,
I feel like for casual play, like I when I think of casual play, I think of not rated arenas or battlegrounds or anything, and I'm just,
yeah.
playing around with my alts, maybe have world PvP on, and I'm out in nature. Then
Mhm.
I feel like having the trinket as a talent was really convenient and so nice as well to use, because
Mhm.
you just always had it. You didn't have to worry about equipping it. You didn't have to worry about getting it in the first place. And so, in terms of like a very easy casual gameplay, it was really nice and really comfortable. Um, in terms of the playing it in arena itself, I think this is probably a great change because it means that you will have less PvE trinkets, or at least that you have to make the decision on whether you'll have
Right.
a big PvE trinket that does lots of damage, or if you want this one, which is more of a defensive, being able to use a trinket. I might be a little bit biased because I play human, so I already have a
Right.
sort of trinket effect from stuns at least. Um,
Yeah.
but in general, I kind of like that you're more limited in terms of picking out PvE items and focus more on PvP items.
I
That's how
wonder
I feel.
if there will be some sort of heirloom version that lets you have a similar effect, because you mentioned, leveling can be inconvenient if you don't have one of these talents. And Blizzard recently removed the experience on heirlooms, so and they're saying they wanted to put like more useful things on them. So you have to wonder if maybe,
Hmm.
I don't know, like boots will give you some sort of like, I don't know, CC removal use
Mm-hmm.
effect as
I
a
think
replacement.
wasn't there a medallion that was an heirloom?
Yeah, I thought there was one. So I mean, I guess you'll need that medallion now
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
yeah.
Now you can actually use the
Yeah,
item. Oh, hello, Maya.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but that's an example. Like now that an heirloom that was not that exciting now is suddenly more
More
interesting.
useful, yeah. Mm-hmm. Indeed. I don't know. I'm a big fan of PvPers being able to get all their gear from PvP and PvE get all their gear from PvE. Maybe a little
Yeah.
bit of crossing, but not so much. And I feel like for PvPers, especially now this expansion, it's been a lot of wanting to get the PvE items like the trinkets. And in the past as well, it's happened. You may want weapons or certain gear with effects, and especially trinkets then from PvE. And I think having the PvP vendors come back and having more focus on this trinket slot being a PvP slot in a way does make it interesting. I wonder though, the other options for trinkets. So you had this one, or you had one effect, which was it breaks the first CC that's on you, and then
Yeah.
it procs a
Gladiator
cooldown.
Medallion,
Yeah.
Adoption, or Relentless, the different ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if those other two, Rela as well, if they will become options as PvP trinkets or if they're just gone. Because I thought it was
Yeah.
sometimes interesting to choose between them as well.
Yeah, it was this was a little confusing because Blizzard made their first blue post and we were like, wait, are they becoming trinkets? Do these talents still exist? It wasn't clear, and then Blizzard clarified it a little bit. But yeah, I still don't know if there's going to be one trinket replacing, or if there's going to be three trinkets, and these aren't on the vendors or data mined yet. So we've been keeping an eye out, but we haven't seen this yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as we move into endgame testing of things like raids, we also get more PvP updates, and I'm sure people are very keen to know
Mm-hmm.
what trinket options they will have. But I
Mm-hmm.
do like knowing at least that the trinkets will be from PvP,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like, oh, and then there's like Castle Nathria boss that happens to have this, weird unique effect.
Which will probably still happen. Like you will probably still want like one trinket from raid. But currently, I feel like, for example, as a healer, you kind of want to use the claw, which is a PVE trinket, which does damage and also gives you mana. And then you also want to play the, what is it called? Is it voodoo totem, the one that heals you, or
Oh
heals
yeah,
the
that
target.
one.
So
The
you
Right Covenant.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you're basically playing with two PVE trinkets, and it just feels like not right that none of the PvP trinkets are as interesting.
Yeah. So for our final segment of the show, we have some story time, which is
Oh,
more spoilers.
yes.
But
Oh.
if you have any questions about other stuff we discussed, you can start typing them out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have videos for all these, but I'll just give the highlights of them. We've highlighted some of the audio before. The first one we have to show, these are all tied to the max level covenant campaigns. So you can only do this if you pledge to your covenant. And last week we saw some of like the basic quests, but not the really good stuff with, the main characters. But this week we're getting the main characters and it's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
So they tested the encounter with Kalthas in Castle Nathria, and then they opened up the quest that occurs after you defeat him. And it's very interesting because we actually get to work with Kale, and I think we highlighted the audio a few weeks ago of like the accuser yelling at him and Kalthas not really giving a shit and just like being very like arrogant back. And we
Mm-hmm.
actually got to like see that quest line happen now, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the main things which were interesting were we saw Kalthas being accused. We then tried to. He was given too much anima, and there's a ritual to kind of balance him again, and that's when he goes from having the corrupted model to his like newer, healthier model, because we got those two models for him. So that explains why he gets a change of model.
Mm-hmm.
And the most interesting part is that as he is investigating things, we learn that Kel'Thuzad is active in the Shadowlands, and Kael'thas hates Kel'Thuzad because he views him as too many K's with apostrophes, but he views
Yeah.
Kel'Thuzad as the
Kills.
defiler of the Sunwell, and he wants to claim justice for Silvermoon, and apparently Kalthos has been meddling in Maldraxxus, and we've been playing through the Kyrian campaign, and they too talk about Kel'Thuzad. So this leads to an interesting bit of foreshadowing, like, is Kel'Thuzad one of the major villains of the early part of Shadowlands?
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, maybe he is tied to Ardenweald too. Maybe Elun's power was dampened because Kel'Thuzad was meddling with her too. If the other
Oh.
three covenants had issues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very interesting. And there's a really funny line where Kalthos realizes he's not like strong enough to take down Kel'Thuzad, by himself. And he's like, "Make no mistake, I will have my vengeance, but I suppose I can afford a measure of patience. Be sure to inform the accuser of my selflessness." Uh,
Yeah.
and the accuser is like, "Hey, you served well today, but nothing has been atoned for." And the accuser's like, "Focus on yourself. Your hatred will only hinder you." So there's still a sense that Kalthos has not had his redemption arc, and he could still be sent to the Maw. But it'll be interesting to see how he develops. Like, will he um, defeat Kel'Thuzad? Will he eventually atone and be in Revendreth, or will he be on a path purely of vengeance and eventually get sent um, into the Maw? And he has a funny line too, being like, "Why are you asking me about atonement? Like, Kel'Thuzad, like I should be upset with Kel'Thuzad based on what he did." He's like, "I want to, defeat him for all of his crimes." So
Mm-hmm.
he's just a really fun character to actually interact with. Like, we've heard so much about him, we've fought him,
Yep.
but now we get to see things from his perspective as well. And he's kind of like refreshing with all like the cosmos and the mythology. It's nice to just have this sort of irreverent character that doesn't really care about what other people think of him.
Yeah, it's really nice, like the touch of personality there, and having an old character come back as well, and just experience this. If you want to take part in this quest line, you have to be of the Venthyr Covenant, right? Like nobody else sees
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I also wanted to highlight one other detail about Kel'Thuzad, which
Mm-hmm.
is that for whatever reason, Hearthstone parallels the WoW universe, and it's very light and fluffy. But there's a lot of deliberate parallels, like the Recruiter Friend armor set was heavily foreshadowed in their Oldhim
Oh yeah.
patch.
Mm-hmm.
The Tortollan first showed up in Hearthstone. Uh, they do stuff like they had like Vulpera heroes, and then we got Vulpera allied races. The Rastakhan event was with Dazara Lore, and we got Zandalari paladins there. And the expansion coming up is on Scholomance with a human version of Kel'Thuzad. So that makes you wonder, like, oh, is that another like
Mm.
funny parallel if this
Yeah.
character could play a role in Shadowlands, and now he's coming back in the Hearthstone universe.
Interesting. Yeah, it's really cool when they do have those crossovers between the different games.
Yeah,
Gives you a little hint here and there.
yeah. So
We
for
have
this
a
next bit, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to introduce it to you. I was going to say we have another uh, story tied to covenants, this time with Mograine. And apparently we get
Yeah,
some more explanation to why he is part of Maldraxxus and not Bastion.
yeah. So a few weeks ago, it became really apparent we were gonna meet Mograine because we data mined a sword that looked like the Ashbringer, which people were very excited about. And Blizzard clarified in an interview that this wasn't the Ashbringer. The sword was like forged from his memories and identity. And then that led people to say, hey, Uther went to Bastion. Mograine, based on like how he served the light, shouldn't he be in Bastion too? And this quest line, which is kind of touching, I think, it's very reflective, and he sort of confronts his past and things he loved in life,
Mm-hmm.
and comes to the conclusion that because his memories are a source of strength and motivation, that's why he's put in Maldraxxus, because it's about fighting and honor, while in Bastion, it's for people whose memories are more of a burden that they want to shed.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's nice how this answers a lot of questions for players that are confused, or think that this is an unconventional choice. And it also like stops the rumor that like, oh, if you worship the light, you go here, and only Death Knights go to the Necrolord faction, or like all druids must be Night Fae. It's not based on what magic you use
Yeah, it's a
or
little bit
what class
deeper.
you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was
Uh,
confused himself too, right?
yeah, he was saying, he explicitly asks, I dedicated my life in service to the light. Is that not what earns a place in Bastion?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, sorry,
It's
the
okay.
memories of your life bear torment and death. Were you chosen for Bastion, they would be deemed a burden. And the Arbiter sent you to Maldraxxus for a reason. Once we will attempt to discern. And then he sees memories of his wife, his and his various children, as well. And at one point he says, Darian, I will never forget your sacrifice, my beloved son. I am so proud of you, and nothing will ever take that from me. And that shows how like he's using his memories to
Yeah.
fight for honor, while in Bastion you're meant to like almost forget your entire past, which I'm not. It seems like very different. I can't really buy into Bastion if you're meant to have basically your memory and appearance erased. But who knows? Maybe there'll be a similar quest to show how that can be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, the Arbiter saw that your memories are not a burden, but your source of strength. This is why you belong in Maldraxxus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very touching because it can show like if you have a difficult memory, it's not just a negative thing. It's something that you can use to influence your judgments and future actions, and it can like be a source of good and motivation. So I think it's a very interesting message in that quest line.
Yeah, and it makes the covenants also feel a lot deeper. It's not just like a simple, like, green go there, blue go there, white go there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuance to things, and it also forces you to learn more about the characters themselves, too, which is also really cool.
Yeah, a lot of the covenant stuff seems very it's very emotionally heavy, and
Yeah, like a lot of thought
it's not
behind it.
yeah, it's not just like ooh the cosmos and death, but it's a lot of these characters reflecting on like what is valuable to them and like
Mm-hmm.
what they loved in Azeroth, and
Mm-hmm.
it's about like regrets and acceptance, and it feels like very very intimate with these characters. It's not just like ooh explosions everywhere. You're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like wow, like I'm learning like how you can handle
Mm-hmm.
a sad memory and how you can use that as a source of strength.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
It's very insightful.
accidentally removed the spoiler tag. It's still up.
Oh,
Yeah, no, but definitely. And getting that insight into the character, and also gives it an insight to Blizzard having, thought about this. That Mograine
yeah.
himself was also wondering, why am I here and not in this covenant? And I think it's really cool to get that sort of deep dive into it through these quests.
Yeah. And then for the final bit of story we wanted to share,
Mm-hmm.
I think last month, we data mined the audio for the Night Warrior curse, in which a Night Warrior, we thought from a different planet, and his husband talked about how they struggled with the magic and how that eventually corrupted and killed them.
Yeah.
And it caused a lot of confusion. People were like, wait, I thought the Night Warrior was just on Azeroth. Like, how, like, why did these, like, men just, like, come in and, like, take over, like, the Night Warrior priesthood? We actually got to see this in game, and it answered a lot of questions and raised a few more as well. So we learned that there are these Night Warriors, and they are unicorns and stags, but you have to keep in mind in Ardenweald, everyone is turned into an animal. So these were likely, you know, two likely
Another being
creatures.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, these are likely like not aliens. Like they were not probably super, horses running around with night warrior powers. They were probably
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But they are these spectral, sparkly creatures, and they talk about how on their home planet, which was a very druidic nature planet, they suffered an attack by something called the Dark God, which is very clearly an old god invasion because they talk about like eyes and mouths and their culture giving into whispers and madness, and they face this old god attack, and their mother decided to tap into the power of the Night Warrior to fight back the old gods, was not successful and died. And then the next generation um, underwent the ritual, survived, defeated the Dark God, but then the power of vengeance was too much, and in attempting to share the power with his husband, they both died and were sent to Ardenweald. So he has like a lot of baggage and anger tied to, was the Night Warrior worth it?
Yeah.
We still died. My it will take generations for my planet to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So like again, it works on that very personal reflection angle. Like it's not just badass to have like dark eyes and smite everything. There's
Yeah.
a lot
There's
of
so much
like
more to it.
loss and sacrifice, but then it also works on this cosmic level with lots of implications. Like
Mm-hmm.
we learn that Elune is worshipped on multiple planets, not just Azeroth, which is a big deal. Like, we assume
Because we don't really
everything
hear
is
about
focused on.
others. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa, there's like another planet with intelligent life and they worship the exact same deity. Like, where is Elune on this cosmology chart? Because, like, she's missing. Like, is she so big that she's, like, beyond it or encompassing it?
Mm-hmm.
So she, I know a lot of people when they play WoW, it's just like, oh yeah, it's like, the Night Elf statue, or, it's what the Taurens worship, and it feels very small, but now that she's on another planet, it's actually pretty big.
Yeah. Indeed.
Uh, and it's also interesting that, there are other planets with life and civilization we haven't yet explored. Like we hear so much about, other planets that were corrupted, that, Sargeras was trying to destroy, that the old gods have attacked. And maybe this other planet doesn't have a world soul, but it's a place that has intelligent life, so maybe we could, I don't know, do some planet hopping in a future expansion. And it
Yeah.
also shows that Shadowlands is not just for creatures of Azeroth, it is for souls on similar planets.
Yeah.
So it's like, who else could we meet?
Yeah, and
Like,
I think this might be exactly the door for that. Shadowlands might be the introduction, the window, the door to another planet or maybe multiple others. Maybe one that we will visit in the future too. Maybe something happens
yeah,
to Azeroth and we have to go somewhere else. And I think meeting these for the first time brings up a really interesting, different perspective of where we can be in the game and or in the World of Warcraft world. And I think that's really cool because, like you said, it's not something that we think about. We just know our planet and that's it. And
yeah, and
yeah,
like it's like a remix of like you take these like famous like deities, or you take some concepts like the Night Warrior and you stick them in a totally different environment. Or like we always hear that, oh, the old gods attacked everyone, and it's like, oh well, now we actually learn about one of those other places attacked by the old gods. It's not just some abstract thing in
mm-hmm,
a book, or a pretty background in Star Ogre's boss room. It's like,
mm-hmm,
yeah, like what happens on those other planets?
mm-hmm,
We keep hearing about life. Like, who is actually there?
mm-hmm. And I think Tyrande could also tie into this a lot as well, not just because of the whole
Yeah,
Night Warrior thing, but also with the Loon. So that could suddenly bring Tyrande to like the front side of everything and lead us into this new place.
yeah. I've heard a lot of discussion where people are like, oh, like Turan couldn't defeat Thanos, but these guys were able to, fight an old god with their Night Warrior power. Like, what's going on with Turan?
Yeah.
And like a lot of discussion is, well, like their people knew about the ritual of the Night Warrior. They saw the power when the mother did the sacrifice. Like they knew, like they knew more about the Night Warrior than Tehran did. So
Yeah.
maybe if Tehran learns how to control her
Yeah.
powers,
I don't think we've seen the final form.
yeah. And I also feel like the Night Warriors talking about how they tried to split their powers. I feel like that could be a hint for Tehran. Like maybe Tehran tries to share her powers with like all the night elf souls in the Maw. Like maybe she
Mm.
splits it with, like thousands of night elves, and like they're all little pieces of the Night Warrior, and that's how she is able to
Yeah.
survive and not be consumed by vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Um because like it's very clear that she wants to like Chandris is like very concerned about Tyrande. We see in Shadows Rising that Tyrande is not totally herself, that yes, she's angry, but like when she's really upset, like the scenery loses color. Like
Mm-hmm.
she just like pulls all the life from the scene, and that seems like it needs to be in check regardless. Like suppose Sylvanas died, it seems that uh Tyrande would be so upset that, oh, we killed Sylvanas. Like, okay, what's the next thing? Like she just would have unending anger, as opposed to also trying to be there for the remaining night elves.
Mm-hmm.
There was also a few more things. So they talk about using the Night Warrior power to defeat the old gods, and we learned that on Azeroth there was so much like the Titans had to help out and imprison them, and it was like a big war with cosmic forces. And it's very interesting that it seems that with this couple, the Night Warrior power was the main force of magic, so it can show that Elune is like pretty powerful if
Mm-hmm.
they didn't need the help of all these cosmic forces to defeat the old god.
Yeah. Like if they had known how to make use of it.
Yeah. And then the final thing is actually something about Ysera. I guess another implication. So at one point uh, we need to solve this riddle, and we need to get something from Alexstrasza, a token of lost love. And we go between Shadowlands and Azeroth, which debunks the theory that we're stuck in the Shadowlands. We actually go to Twilight Highlands and meet up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And Alexstrasza is really happy to learn that Ysera has survived in some way. Like Ysera is stuck in Shadowlands, but she hasn't totally died or gone
Yeah.
to a corrupted place. And Alexstrasza talks about how she has like always held on to this figurine of Ysera when they became aspects, and it's really touching, showing like their family sisterly bond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice closure, for them as well. Like, you relay this message to Ysera. She's really touched. Alexstrasza is happy to learn Ysera hasn't, totally vanished, and it's a nice little bit of closure.
Yeah.
So again, it's like another storyline that sounds really cool from a cosmic perspective, but there's also a lot of insights about like love and loss, and like making peace with regrets, or like the aftermath of being heroic. Like
Mm-hmm.
Mograine died, he served the light. It's like, what happens when you're in the Shadowlands, or the Night Warriors saved their world, but then it was too much power, and now they're in Ardenweald. Like, how do you come to peace with the trauma of being a hero?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So
think all of these stories are really cool to dive into. And it's going to be
yeah.
really interesting to see what's going to happen with Elune, because I feel like we're going to learn so much more. It's like a small little door has opened and there's a whole world out there, and it's the time for us to learn all about it.
Yeah, I feel like BFA had some hints, but they were subdued because it was all like, oh, the faction war, and then it's like, hey,
Yeah,
Darkfield's
like
kind of
forget about everything.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's like, oh, like Elune's on another planet. We've never heard other deities have that before. That's kind of big.
Mhm.
And it just sort of keeps growing in scope. And like, we learned, Ian was hinting that, oh, there's Titan architecture, but it's also in Shadowlands, and maybe there's a pantheon of death. And it just like our minds like expanded when we learned that. And now it's like, well, like Elune is also now in multiple places. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see how like both the cosmic angle develops, but also the very like personal, down to
Mm-hmm.
earth storyline of like Tehran coming to terms with her power, or like these
Mm-hmm.
Night Warrior guys and like their planet, which actually sounds pretty cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, interesting stories. There's still a few more we haven't covered, but the servers have been really laggy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna keep trying to plow through all of that, but it is
Mm-hmm.
kind of difficult.
And with that, I think I'll take down the spoiler tag.
Yep.
In case you guys were wondering, what we just talked about now are basically the storylines that are currently available on the beta. Some of these stories were specific to different covenants, and or maybe all of them are actually.
Yeah, they're all this. So we just talked about Ardenweald. Mograine was Maldraxxus, and
Yeah.
Kale was tied to Venthyr.
Yep. So it's different stories tied to the different covenants. And if you don't mind spoilers, you can jump into those quest lines already, or wait until it's, in the final game when Shadowlands is here. Whatever way you
Yep.
prefer to play the game. And that's another thing. Like all these covenants have these interesting stories, which makes it worthy to play alts and pick a different covenant just for the story part of it.
Yeah, it's like pretty similar to the Legion class hall where
Yeah.
all the stories are intertwined. But obviously you need to have alts to try out different classes to play
Mm-hmm.
through the full story.
Mm-hmm. Or you search the stories on Wowhead,
Yeah.
whichever way you
Like I
prefer.
always thought it was cool how like the Tyrion story was covered on three different characters,
Yeah.
or like going to the corrupted like Shadow Priest place in Tirisfal where like the Arms Warrior was also tied to that. So it's nice when you can pick up the story at different points and
Mm-hmm.
see it from different perspectives.
Indeed. Indeed,
So
indeed.
I think that is about it.
Yeah, that's
Brief
actually all the
reminder
topics. Mm-hmm.
that AQ opens tomorrow in WoW Classic. It's just the war effort though, and the dungeon quest stuff. It's not like AQ 20 and 40 won't open until next reset because you need to do Blackwing Lair twice to bang the gong.
Mm-hmm.
But if your server's working on the war effort, good luck. And if you're not, and you just want some, pre-raid best in slot, you can, go do some more dungeons, upgrade your armor to dungeon set 2, and still a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And I also noticed during the story time that we had some questions on the PvP things that we had just covered.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So just to confirm, yes, the PvP talents will become, or specifically the PvP trinket talent will become an actual trinket, which will take a trinket slot on your character. We don't know yet what adapt and rele, what will happen with those, if they will turn into some kind of trinkets as well, because they were the alternative talents for that PvP row. But for now, yes, the trinket will indeed become a PvP item. So something that you gain from playing PvP and you use it in PvP. And also, yes, there will be PvP gear from a PvP vendor, which you can buy for either Conquest or Honor. Probably Honor for like the lesser quality gear, and then Conquest for the higher one.
Something that seems like a PvP honor upgrade vendor, so maybe you can improve the item level of your PvP
Oh yeah, there
gear
was some kind of upgrade thing
as
going on
well.
as well. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's a bit vague at this point,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the general idea is that yes, there will be a PvP vendor, and this PvP trinket is now a thing again. Yep, yep, yep. I've been keeping an eye on chat. I think that was the only real question that popped up. If there is anything else, you guys can always feel free to ask questions, and we'll do the best that we can to answer them. And if you guys want to rewatch the show or anything like that, these shows are always uploaded to YouTube a day later, so you can sit down and relax and watch it on your own pace. And shout out to Aegis for always making
Yeah.
sure that we have the timestamps for most of the shows whenever he's able to. Yeah, it's really nice of you to take your time to do that. So thank you. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's about it for now.
Yeah, we also recently started uploading our data mining streams to YouTube. We might want to tweak the format so it's not like 3 hours, maybe have some timestamps, but we thought like a lot of people like watching the streams, so we might as well, upload those for fun as well.
Indeed.
So if you have any like feedback, if you'd like to get timestamps or I don't know, stuff related to the video, let us know. We're experimenting with it. I am trying to pick up the cat because the show is ending soon, and he is like, no.
Okay. We have a very interesting question here, Perk. What's your guess on when pre-patch drops?
I think pre-patch would be October, and then November would be the invasion, and then December would be Shadowlands.
Oh, he's so comfortable. Yeah. Do you think you're still able to high five?
I think so. What do you think, Brightpaw? You can high five?
You look so comfortable.
Yes, he's a good boy.
Yeah, so Perk's guess is pre-patch October, invasion November, and expansion December.
Yep. And then like the max level stuff coming in January. And also keep in mind that if things like the Venthyr Covenant require you to, defeat some raid bosses, that, the max level Covenant campaigns are not going to be like, first week of expansion, I'm going to grind through it, it's done. It's going to be pretty staggered as well. So it might not be as many, there might not be as many systems at expansion launch as you would, assume if you're familiar with like Warlords or even Legion, where there's a lot of stuff available, right? Day one, it might be more staggered, like BFA.
These are estimations or estimates.
Yeah, we don't have any details yet on that.
Yeah. Have you talked about what the pre-patch is going to contain? Not exactly, but the beginning of the show, we did cover the things which will go away specifically with pre-patch and the things which will go away with the Shadowlands launch. So we did a quick roundup of that. Blizzard recently came out with an article covering those things as well. We haven't talked about pre-patch specifically. But the main thing is
we know that the leveling, the unpruning, the item level squish, and then some sort of like Wrath of the Lich King-esque zombie invasion.
Yeah. So the idea with pre-patch is that the game actually changes to be Shadowlands, except you don't have access to the Shadowlands new contents. So imagine like you are in Shadowlands, but you are in the lower level zones. That's how it normally feels. So the mechanics are there. You will be level 50. There will be unpruning. You will have some new abilities. Talent trees will change to whatever is planned for the new expansion. All those kind of things. Corruption does not work anymore. So it's like you can imagine that you're already in Shadowlands, basically, in the pre-patch, except you can't access the new quests and the new zones.
What's also interesting? I wonder when Naxxramas in WoW Classic will come out, because that's like very thematically tied to Shadowlands.
Actually, very true.
So that could be an interesting. I thought it was interesting how we have 5 weeks of the time walking with the rep bonuses, and then right after the final week we have the Gates of AQ. Like that seemed to be interesting timing as well. Like you'll be, you can do stuff on retail, and then if you're bored, go do something on classic. So I wonder if Naxxramas will be like, I don't know, like a teaser for the pre-patch or something.
I feel like they can definitely be tied to each other in one way or another. Can you still raid BFA stuff then? Will be hard without corruption? Yes, and I think they will tune it so that if you've killed boss X with this much difficulty, the difficulty should stay the same. So they will tune it.
Yeah, they talked about retuning a little bit.
Yeah, they will fix it so you don't have to worry about not having enough damage. If you had enough damage before, you will have enough damage now too. The content is not meant to get harder.
Still work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The essences will continue working.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's it then. New information how loot will be distributed. Mythic Plus. I think with the Mythic Plus thing, it was mentioned to have a system where you get the choice of 3 items or something like that. But I don't know if anything was 100% confirmed.
So Brightpaw was meowing because we asked Ian about Mythic Plus at our interview, and he was like, "Don't quote me on this, but I think only one item will drop at the end." And everyone
No.
on Reddit was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Ian has confirmed in like a tablet written in stone that it's like one item." So
Yeah.
all of that is still kind of up in the air.
Yeah. I think the preliminary idea is that at the end of the Mythic Plus, you will see less loot drop in general. But then at the end of the week, you will get to pick an item from a few different ones. So the idea is at the end of the day that there's less items going around, but that the items will be more useful.
Yep.
And I think
And there's
that's the kind
also
of,
like not Titan Forge
yeah,
RNG variants.
yeah. And I think they're also reducing raid loot in a similar fashion,
Yeah.
where there's less chance to get loot, but then it should be feel better once you get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. Are you ready for the high five?
Brightpaw's got his paw up already.
I saw that. Are you gonna high five with Brightpaw?
Yes. You're gonna be a good boy, right, Brightpaw? Oh, that didn't sound like a yes. That sounded like an E. But yeah, I can. This is the hand, right?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
So if
Brightpaw,
there's less
sit
items,
up.
where we get enchanting mats? Well, normally what happens then is that enchanting mats would be potentially more expensive, um, and that in turn also makes enchanting the profession more useful. So I don't
Right.
see that being a bad thing. We've seen a lot of professions kind of go down the drain, like jewel crafting as well. Gems are so cheap, and yeah, I guess we'll see if that kind of changes in the future.
Yeah, there's also not a scrapper, so I guess you really need that enchanter to actually like disenchant things. It's not just like free mats for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, there were a
I mean
lot
there
of
is
free
the
ways to
scrapper,
get
but it's
mats.
not a Shadowlands feature.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
I think we can do the high five.
yep.
Brightpaw's clinging onto my chair, so I can't scoop him up, but he's right here.
Go.
Say hello, Brightpaw.
Hello, Brightpaw.
So you can do the countdown. Oh, you can see his little head.
Yeah, I can see. And one paw.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you should do the countdown because there's a delay.
Okay,
So you say it.
Brightpaw, you want to do the countdown? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Way, we did it.
Oh,
And now he's like, I'm
Brightpaw's
done.
like, I'm doing it too.
I'm done.
Yes.
Is there new expulsum like material? We haven't confirmed anything, but most likely some kind of crafting materials will exist.
Yeah.
Like
There's
BOP
also the
crafting
whole
materials always
legendary
exist.
crafting system that
Yeah.
you need crafters for.
Yes. So maybe it'll be time for professions to be back for the
Yep.
first time in a while. Hopefully.
Yeah.
You know, as an enchanter, when I get new gear, I sometimes just vendor them because I feel like there's no point disenchanting them.
Right.
It's like barely worth anything. So I feel like if you have less gear, then enchanting itself will become more valuable too. But yeah,
So
that's a wrap. I've
we're
been
good.
looking through the questions, and I think we covered most of them, if not all. And then I think it's time for us to say goodbye for today, and we'll be back next week, same time. Monday at 10 p.m. CST and 1 p.m. PST.
That's it.
Yep. I'd always double check. Where we will cover the news from now until then. Thank you guys very much for hanging out here, supporting, chilling, asking questions, making everything feel more interactive and fun. We love doing these streams, and the more active you guys are, the more fun it is for us as well. So thank you. And also shout out to those of you guys who are supporting Wowhead using the Wowhead premium subscription as well, which helps Wowhead do all the things that they're doing. And yeah, I think that's about it from us.
Well, we will see you next week. Right before the AQ gates finally open,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully we'll know what's up with the max level conduits.
Oh yeah.
Which are very mysterious.
Yeah.
By then.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will see you next week.
Mm-hmm. See y'all next week. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, bye. Hit the
Bye.
microphone. Bye.
Bye.
See y'all next week.